when you have a line like this, notoriously, you see it's not closed, right?
Yeah.
So when you come up here to this, that's what happens.
Right.
So what you have is open, you have things that are open-ended.
Uh-huh.
And so it's not a closed form.
Right.
So that's why they created live paint to help you create those closed forms.
Oh,
So
okay.
so I'm going to go back to the one that we did have. I think I have your other one.
Yeah, I think you saved it.
Yeah, I did. So that's what I thought, but I wasn't sure. And
So I
yeah,
have to find live paint then, because I went under like window, couldn't
right,
find it there.
right. So
And on my little toolbar, I don't see it either.
so let me show you that, because
Yeah.
that's exactly right. Um, yeah. Okay. Here we go. So this is important for everyone to realize. And once you get this done, it is a charm. So here we are. Let's take the outlines that we have.
Yep.
And so the theory for everyone to understand is that, number one, when you sketch and draw in Illustrator, let me get this away. You want to be sure, as I said before, Cassidy, and then I'll show you where everything is. You want to be sure that things are closed based on the design and the form. So you see how this is open right here?
Yeah. I did because I noticed that this morning when I was doing it, so I fixed those on the new one that I sent to you, but this one has definitely a couple open things.
Right. So that alone is a good thing to check
Mm-hmm.
before you do the live paint, because then you'll notice it, like, now watch this. Now here, I want to add on to it. So I'm going to.
Yeah, that's what I did. I just gave it an extra line there.
Yes, exactly. So that's good to know to do that. And again, I want to go over a couple of things to show how you can get calligraphy on these lines, don't forget. So here. So the thing about teaching software, what I have found over the years, is if I showed you everything, you would go to sleep. But when you ask me, like, I want to see this, how do you do it? Then I take you through the process, right? Because what all you have learned is a lot in this semester. And so it's one of those things where it becomes an issue that it doesn't click. And so that's why I'm so happy when you have these problems. Not to say that I'm happy you have problems, but I'm happy that it's not working for you, and it should be working, and all that kind of good stuff should happen.
Yes, I was definitely getting frustrated this morning when I was working on it, especially just because when we were on our office hours, you were doing it so easily, and I
Right.
want to do that, and I can't.
Well, but see here, this is where I empathize for what the students go through, is because theoretically, your toolbar right up here should have all these diamonds in them,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And because the last version, they took that all away, and it was like, what? And then they give you this way to drag and drop, right? So I always make sure I have everything in my toolbar, maybe behind door number 3, but I don't want to be looking everywhere if it's already, here. So I look here first, but I know, this is set in stone now. But right down here is, always remember, interface will show you more tools by certain iconic symbols on the dashboard. So right here would have been one place to go. Windows, interestingly, doesn't have everything.
Yeah.
But, and I go there too, and I was like, oh, it's not here. It's under type create outlines, right?
Okay. I just found the live paint tool, by the way.
Okay. So that is like you mouse down, right?
Yeah.
But trust me, half of learning software, and I do this all the time, is the needle in a haystack. It's a scavenger. And luckily I can curse at home as loud as I want, but it comes to that. So now let's show this for everyone, because this is really, to me, the charm of Illustrator. So basically, this is how we go about this. Let me get some real estate here. Okay, so the first thing is you want to select everything. So again, you could use the lasso, if things are a little crowded, and it selects everything. And then your swatches up here are where the live paint is working from. So do remember you can, let me back up again on this, hold on. I want to get some more colors is what I want to do. You can drag and drop your colors. Remember, there are a slew of palettes that you can drag and drop. Patterns, decorative, right? And even once you get them one up here like this, you can literally go through them all like a bookshelf, which is really nice. And let's make it big, right? And let's go back to, I'd even like to make it even bigger if they would. It doesn't make it bigger for you on the screen when I zoom in. Large, see, that's as large as it gets. But that's to me, that was very valuable, is to be able to go through all the patterns and so forth. And the other thing.
Wait, hold on, I'm so sorry. I lost you for the past 10 seconds. Can you backtrack where you just opened that window?
Yes, yes. So that window, again, is over under your swatches. Mouse down, open Swatch Library, and you can choose. And once you choose, right, you'll get a window like this, and you can go big. You open it up, always open up your windows because it could be hiding something. And then you can go through here like a bookshelf, looking for things, and then you can drag and drop them into your tablet and so forth. Let me get back to here, your dots and so forth. So sometimes, and this is often, that, and it goes literally through all the libraries, as you can see, it goes through them all, is that often you can start with an existing pattern of any kind, like this. Let me just drag this over. And you can break it apart to become your own. So that's one thing that in technology, and this is why speed is very important in your production skills, is don't always feel like you have to create the wheel. There are often shortcuts. Like, so if I was designing a daisy, right? Oh, I want to design a daisy. I'd go get their daisy, drag and drop it, and I'm going to show you how to do that, to break it apart, and then make it your own daisy. So always remember there's a template and something that's already started for you to be able to break it out, to make it to be the original form and lines and colors, and you can change all of it and make it your own. So that's the importance of that. So, so for instance, let's just do that simply, right? Let's just take a basic square. I'll break this into here. And the steps that you do, let me call this up over here. You have this in here, and I want to make a pattern myself. Like I want to change these colors and so forth. So I come up here to Object and Expand, and I say, okay. Then I come up here to Ungroup. You always have to remember things are often grouped. And what you're trying to do is to get it broken apart as an element, as a line. So these are actual lines. And so here's the color. And so I can double click this and choose it to be a different color. And so this will break it apart for you. And, you can put colors behind it, anything that you want to do. Obviously, if you want to add a point to things, the point to be said here is that you can make things become newly edited to what you want. And do remember on here, something like this is a stroke. So what I'm doing, I'm looking for my stroke. Oh, where did that go? Oh, and that's another thing about Illustrator. You don't always see everything, right? So that's important to be sure that this doesn't have anything that you don't see. And I would ungroup this again and get the right tools and ungroup. And I would even expand again, because the expanding is what you want to be able to get to be completely ungrouped. And that's when you have things like the other patterns, when you do this with the other patterns, like when you double click here, but you have to have it in a square, is to be able to come up here, click this, and you see now I have it on this row, I have it on the stroke. I'm right now, look where I am, just to look it up to see where, to show you where, what happened is I double clicked it. Let me come back out. It's in the stroke, put it to the solid, but I have to have it highlighted. For some reason, I don't know why, when you change color, it unselects and it drives me crazy. So it's a little bit of a bug. So when you double click this, it throws you into the actual pattern of the pattern that you have itself. So I could break this apart. Let's take a look on here. Because if you double click down here, this throws you into the pattern 1. Now you see, I forgot that. I forgot, do I click the swatch or do I click the image? And it's the swatch, as you can clearly see. So this is the one that will give you the ability to change by grid, you know, your pattern, how do you like it? And Cassidy, did you have a question about creating your own patterns?
No, that I actually, well, I'm not going to say I'm like fully confident with, but I can kind of do it.
Okay, because the only thing to remember about that, and that's why I'm just bringing it up since we're on this topic of patterns, whatever you create here, whatever size you create here, will be the actual size of the pattern. If you want your pattern to be small or big, you have to go back to the original source and scale it down or scale it up. And then you drag and drop it into the swatch like this. And then that will make a pattern out of what you've dragged and dropped into the swatch. So whatever you do as far as drawing is concerned, that's how you do that. To be able to get you know, the strokes to be what you want it to be. So that's important to remember that. Let me get out of this pattern here.
I was just following along with you as you did it, and I did it, and I'm very proud of myself, and
Yeah.
now I feel accomplished.
Yeah, so again, whatever you do, I just did a little doodle here. Whatever you do, you drag and drop it in here, it will become a pattern. And again, if you want it to be big, you scale it up, you go back to the original source, right? And you scale it up, shift key, remember always, and then drag and drop it. Whoop, and that's why we group it, and we drag and drop it. And now it's going to be a bigger pattern. And then if I double click this, I get into this, right? Remember, double click. And remember, I forgot too. Do I double click the shape or do I double click the swatch? Just when I'm an Illustrator, I double click whenever I'm doubtful. Like, where is it? Click, double click, double click. So right here, this is very helpful because you can bring it down and change a lot of what it actually looks like and so forth. So that's and that goes further. And trust me, there is a YouTube video that will tell you all about this window to go further. So, and that's really where internships happen, is like, oh, I'm really good on patterns. And they go, oh, you know that Illustrator pattern tool? Yes, I do. So that's why everything is about tools. I mean, creativity, of course, you know, without a doubt, but you get in those creative corners because of your technical skills. And then you show your value and your opinion in creativity, and then they begin to go, you know, what do you think of this, right? Because they want your opinion, because they now value your opinion. Okay, so let's get back to live paint. You can see I could go on and on. There's so much to learn, and there's not, like, you know, we don't always have all the time. So whatever your questions are, I really appreciate being able to troubleshoot. All right, let me come out of here so we can see this. And let's do our live paint. Okay, so first of all, again, live paint, you do have to have things prepared in your swatch. And the reason why that is, that's why I was grabbing some colors, because I didn't see enough colors, is because the live paint grabs from the swatch. So often, I didn't look for this, but I'll use this. This is the one we had the other day. It's often very good to use monochromatic colors. You're going to go back and you're going to add pattern. You're going to go back and go back to color. But color has a value, light, dark, medium value. And so when you start choosing within your live paint, already the value that you think you want this to be, like a dark belt, a light belt, right? That kind of thing. That's when you do your iterations. Switch it up. Easy to do. So let's do the live paint. So you want to grab everything. And again, live paint needs to have everything in a group. So you see one circle, one square is on. This is all in one group right now, so I'm good to go. And I'm going to pick up my live paint. And I'm going to start with this color. And as you can see, there is that dark color. So I'm just going to click and say, okay. Now, that little window of what just said to me, let's go back to that window because it kind of freaks you out, right? Is the thing that I want to remind you, I'm going to go back to do this, is always duplicate, you know, to get these lines take a lot of time. So you don't want a filter effect or a tool to take away the lines itself, because you might want to put a calligraphy brush on it, right? So that's why you want to be sure to keep your outlines at all times. So what we want to do is, let me grab it again. We want to come up here, right click, doesn't do it, does it in Photoshop. Come over here and we're going to duplicate. And now I have a duplication. And yes, you can highlight this and just call it, you know, file naming becomes critical. I could talk forever on that. Just call it copy. And what I do is I lock it so I could visibly know that my copy is here. And then be sure to turn it off. That's what's important about turning it off. Now, so then I have that. I don't have to worry about it. And it's there. And so that's what happened, is that it asked me, do you know you're in live paint? I'm going to take away your lines because I need the lines to make the shapes. Now, the good news is if you didn't do that, you can always get it back by doing an expand. So there is always a backdoor somewhere that you can do. And so if you did forget to copy, you can take the original one, but do duplicate it because it takes away everything as well. It actually gives you everything, which is kind of cool. Okay, let's back to the live paint. And I'm on the right one, and I'll start with the color here. And it says it be converting, right? And so now, if you use the arrows on the keyboard, you can advance it to a different color. Now you see here, there, you see, it even shows you the shape. It's showing you that these are closed situations and I should be able to do this. And again, advance it with the arrows on here. I'm just going to do some wild colors so you can see it. And it literally goes up. You can even go up like I did. And I can go left. You can see it on the swatch on the left. And you can actually come here and click it yourself. I'll just go crazy on this. And on here. I know you wouldn't do this, Cassidy, but you get my point, right? And over here, and we'll color that, bingo. And then we do this. Okay. So the point to be made is that in doing this, you can get a million iterations really quickly. And what it does, and this is the brilliant part of Illustrator, is it lets the people who love to draw freehand. And then as long as you know the form needs to be a form, you just drag those points over to make it the connection to the line near it. And then live paint will fill everything. And I can't tell you how brilliant this is, because really lines are not shapes. And this came about in Illustrator for a long time. Now that you have this, again, I would duplicate. So you can do your iterations. Again, lock it, turn it off, and come back to here. And now what you want to do is, you see it's all grouped. Now you can go ungroup. And let's see here. Let's see if we might have to do the expand. Hold on. So ungroup is here. Yeah, I want to get it completely ungrouped. And actually, right down here, so this is what's new for me, because it used to just be the word expand. Now they break it down to all the tools. They do it to the blend tool, they do it to live paint. Here is the live paint. And there is expand. So we're going to do expand. Come back again, it's still connected. Ungroup it, deselect, select again, ungroup it, deselect. and maybe I should expand it again. Let's see. And there it is. So you would have given up after that first ungroup. But I know Illustrator. You have to ungroup, 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 ungroup. And deselect, and select, and deselect, and select. It's a very, it's not as sticky as Flash and animation, but it's close to it because it has so much control. It is so much more powerful than Photoshop. There are a lot of these things that you have to go through. So now it's completely, I can take it, I can put a stroke on this if I wanted to. I could bring my stroke up to be thick if I wanted to, obviously not that thick, or thin, and I can bring it back to be placed. So there's a lot of control to do what you want to do. And again, I didn't even hit that spot right there. So that's pretty much, that's definitely live paint on that.